There we go. It's hell of a show time. Demon Phil here and ready to get started into this show for tonight. Before we get started, I want to go ahead and say thank you for everyone who's going to be watching this. I know it's pre-recorded and y'all will be watching this later on, but go ahead right now. I'm telling you, you're going to want to go ahead and just share this out. Just trust me on this one. I've already talked to these guys in the backstage, beforehand, and I think this is going to be one of those shows that we need to go ahead and share out right now and get you going, get you excited about. They got a current campaign going, but they're a lot of fun to get to know. I know already just from talking to the brief amount of time that I've had them. So get those shares going, get those likes out there. Let's go ahead and increase the voice of the indies, and let's get started in this because they're in the hot seats ready to go. Let's go ahead and introduce my guests tonight are Patrick Blaine and David Sandoval. Let's bring them out.
Hey, Phil, how you doing?
Hey, welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, my pleasure, my pleasure. Now, before we get started into all of the shenanigans that usually happen on this show at time, a few times, a little bit every once in a while, let's go ahead and introduce each one of y'all and let them know what y'all do and where to find y'all. So we'll start off with you, Patrick, and then we'll go to you, David.
Yeah, my name is Patrick Blaine. I've been a professional comic artist and illustrator for the last 30 years, about 28 years. And I broke in 94 doing some image comic stuff on Shadowhawk, and I sort of wound my way through the comic industry, ended up at doing some Top Cow stuff and Star Wars at Dark Horse, a little bit of DC stuff. And mostly in the 2000s, I was kind of stuck in advertising, kind of doing video game advertising art and stuff. But now I'm back doing comics full time. And this is sort of my reintroduction to the comic market, is this project, Crown of Fire, which we're kickstarting right now. And we appreciate you helping us get the word out.
Hey, nice. I'm definitely looking forward to it. And we'll definitely be discussing more about, your experience and everything in here because, this is not one of those things where I come in here and have to explain, okay, so you're new to this. This is some new terminology that's out there. You're probably going to be explaining some things to me going through this.
Do my best.
David, what about you? Go ahead and give us your bio on this too.
Yeah, well, I'm David. Been writing for over 20 years. Broke in. Well, I can't say I really broke in. I've done mostly indie stuff. I started a publishing company maybe 15, 16 years ago called NAS Publishing. I did that for about 10 years and had some personal things happen. I had to shut it down. So this Crown of Fire is kind of my introduction, just like Pat, back into the industry. I'm the co-creator and writer. So, yeah, I mean, that's to keep it simple.
Awesome. Well, I mean, we've already discussed a little bit about, we've got Crown of Fire, and we're definitely going to be discussing about that being the current campaign that's on there. As of the recording of this right now, it looks like we have 16 days to go. You are over 50% funded. I think you're like 65% is the funding goal on there so far. But again, with that much time on there, you're doing very well and you've got a good tempo going with it. And we're going to be discussing more of the metrics that as well. But first, I want to get to know each of you as creators as we kind of go through with this. So let me see. We got some background noise on here some way. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm hearing it too.
You're hearing it too, Patrick? Okay. Yeah. There we go. I think it's a little bit better. There we go.
Yeah, great.
All right. I just want to make sure everyone can hear everything. I can get to where I can get to talking, and then I forget what I said on there, and then all of a sudden we can't go back to greatness again. And lightning only strikes once.
Right.
But now both of you have a lot of experience in the comic industry and dealing with a lot of this from different aspects as well. I mean, it's not just as a writer or as an artist. You actually have marketing and advertising. You actually have some of your publication as a publicist. There's a lot of things that y'all have in there as far as some of the insight. How much of that did you dip into whenever you decided to go ahead and crowdfund and start up Crown of Fire? We'll start off with Patrick on this one.
Yeah, for me, a lot of the time I spent in advertising, and we were marketing like triple A video games like God of War and Need for Speed and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of got a good lesson on how to market things, and just I learned Photoshop on the job as well. So that came in really handy in just preparing our Kickstarter page, because I was able to look at what some of the really successful Kickstarters have done, and just sort of take that template and just sort of use the same ideas and just build the little icons and things that go on the page that look kind of sticky. So hopefully it looks like we kind of know what we're doing.
Oh yeah, I mean the campaign page, the layout and everything looks great on there. I have no problem with that. I mean, I've seen a mess of them because I'm actually I'm in super backer status, which basically means I'm poor.
Me too.
But I have great artwork all over the place, so I'm poor, but not that poor. So and I'm probably going to be a little more poor after we're done with this, because the more I've done my research, I'm like, yeah, I got to be poor on this one too, dadgummit. But y'all definitely have some of the background and everything to go into this, so you're not going into it completely blind and kind of just throwing stuff out there as Kickstarter would have you throwing out there. Just put this line in here, put that line in there. There, it looks good, doesn't it? Let's go ahead and push that out there. And then whenever you see the finished product, you're kind of like, ooh, that could have been better.
Right.
This actually has a draw to it. I mean, it has a very good, lively feel to it, not just from the art, but the way that it's expressed in the storyline that's involved in here and everything as well. How long of a project has this been kind of stoking the fires over there, David?
Let's see, I think we worked on it for about like 5-6 months, give or take.
About half a year, yeah, with actual production.
Yeah, it was about 6 months with the artwork going back and forth. I didn't really have a lot of problems, approving a lot of the artwork with Pat, because we have this way of working with each other where I can give him information on a page, and I'll tell him, free reign. You do whatever you think is right. You're the artist. Bring it to life. Yeah. So I think I wrote the script. And then, I mean, I'm when I really, really want to write, I can write a whole 25, 26 pages in a day. So
right.
I think it took me maybe a couple of days to write the screenplay, or I'm sorry, the script. And then we just kind of tinkered on it. And I think we might have maybe edited a couple of pages just to make it work on the page layout. But other than that, I think a total of about maybe 6 months till we really had it, ready to go.
Yeah,
nice.
This project is kind of a prologue to a project he's actually been working on since about 2010 in a bigger story. So this is sort of like a way to sort of
prequel
into that larger story eventually.
Okay.
So yeah, it's something that he's been working on for over a decade, and I've been really lucky to kind of join in and just bring this particular part of it to life. And yeah, he kind of knows what I like to draw and paint, which is monsters and hot babes and cool action. And I mean, who doesn't like that stuff?
Exactly.
So he's really great at that. I grew up on Sinbad movies and Godzilla movies, and so I just love monsters, and that whole quest for adventure and mythology thing is in my blood. So luckily David shares that same blood in him too, so it was a good marriage.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
because I was going to ask, because I thought this said something about being like an issue 1 or something like that, but if it's more of a prequel and it's actually opening up the universe to this as a collector's level, everyone needs to be watching this. You need to understand this has got those first appearances and everything that are in there that everybody covets so much. So this is definitely something you want to have in there. But the cool thing about this is, a lot of comics are just, the 20, 24, 22 pages, 26 pages. I think this one's 26 pages is the comic.
Right.
And then there's an additional 25 pages of art in here as well. So you get an art book and a comic book all in one with gorgeous, cover on there and everything. How did you come up with the idea to go ahead, instead of doing 2 separate, campaigns on this thing, to go ahead and just put it all together and just make one conglomerate book for this?
Yeah, that was kind of my whole thing. I sort of convinced David that if I was going to do this, we spent so much time on this 6 years ago, and we've been sitting on it ever since. And I'm like, it finally feels like it's time for us to get this out there, because I've been studying Kickstarters, real nervous about putting my toe in that pond, because I've seen great projects just fail. And then other projects that aren't as amazing looking do really well. So it seems like it was almost like a lottery ticket type situation. You just kind of take your shot and hope for the best. But I think that I came to him with the idea, if we're going to do this painted book, I wanted to do it like oversized. And I was a big fan of the European bande dessinées, the graphic novels they have like in France and Europe that are like 8x12, and they're like hardcover.
Right.
And in order to do that, you can't really do that for a single 26 issue or page comic book.
Right.
So I thought, well, why don't we just have all this other fantasy paintings I've done that have never been in print before. So it'd be really cool for me just to make half this book sort of like an art book for myself, kind of like a coffee table art book / Crown of Fire introduction to the world. So that way, if it fails miserably, at least I have one book out there I can say, hey, Mom and Dad, here's something that I did that's cool. Check it out. So I'll have a little legacy to leave behind since I don't have kids or anything like that. So I thought, well, this would be a great way to make something kind of nice format that I could just put on my bookshelf forever instead of in a comic box somewhere.
No, I completely agree. And like you said, if it fails miserably, I just don't see it doing that for one thing, because I mean, this is, we're going to show this much of the art right here. And I don't mean to completely cover up David right there, but that's your sneak peek right there. So if you can go ahead and get your magnifying glasses out right now, you can see all the art. No, I've got more pages. Don't worry. But yeah, it's gorgeous inside. I mean, the outside, the cover and everything is absolutely beautiful. And there's 2 different versions. I love the fact that you came up with the idea for the 2 different versions, because there are 2 completely separate markets out there. And if you go too heavy on one market or the other, you end up pushing people away. By going ahead and offering the 2 at the same time and giving specific instructions as to what is involved, with the Inferno versus the standard, this is what you get. That was awesome to be able to do that, because it gives people the chance to do it. Plus, if I'm not mistaken, you don't charge any extra for the different version on there, do you?
I don't think so. I don't think we have a.
No.
I think they're both the same price. Yeah.
Yeah, almost exactly the same. I just wanted there to be an option, because I'm a kind of a big fan of like Ron Zabala's Mount Olympus comics, and he's been evolving his brand so successfully using a little bit of like mature content to sort of get the wheels rolling for that. And so I thought it's great to have some of that, but at the same time, I wanted the book to be accessible to, people that aren't into the Game of Thrones style nudity and the more mature content fantasy stuff. So I thought, well, instead of just doing a cover that has nudity on it, I'll just go in and just like customize each page so that there's some more mature content in that whole issue. So that was sort of my whole dream, was to make 2 books, the same story, but one for a mature reader audience and one for the whole family. And I was hoping that'd be smart marketing wise. Printing wise, it's going to hurt us in like discounts and stuff, because it's 2 separate books basically.
Right.
But other than that, I think it's a fun way to just test out that sort of marketing.
I mean, definitely, if you're planning on going to conventions and stuff like that, and you're ordering more as is, then it's great, because you're going to get extras anyhow. Yeah. But if you were ordering, to the print quantity that's on there, that could be an absolute nightmare, because if they tip those scales one way or the other, in the wrong direction, it gets a lot more expensive very quickly. So that was it's kind of something you're throwing caution to the wind on that one. But then again, you've got the plan of probably taking these to the cons and everything as well. So it kind of gives you some kind of a backup plan to it. So I like the idea that you have that available.
Thanks. Yeah, it's funny, because the first day we launched the campaign, I noticed we got like 10 sales on the Inferno version, which is the mature version, and nothing on the other one. And I thought, wow, okay, I see how this is going to go. So there's definitely an audience out there for the mature content stuff, but the other one's sort of slowly catching up a little bit, but it's definitely a little lopsided.
Yeah, and it makes it easier considering a lot of these characters, the way Patrick designs them, we can easily,
Right.
I think that's what makes it easier for him as well. All he has to do is press a button and it's gone.
Right. Yes, the magic of Photoshop.
Just an extra gust of wind, and all of a sudden, poof, there it goes.
Right.
So if these characters were ever to step foot in Chicago, that's it. They're just be Inferno style, and that's it.
That'll be issue 2.
That's your C2. That's your C2E2 variant right there. No, that is great. I mean, that you have that much, versatility in this. And the story, the way that it's set up, and you said it's got the Sinbad references, you can definitely see that in there. And I'm going to be showing some of the artwork as we're kind of going through on this one as well, because it really caught my eye on what we have on here. And I'm trying to do this without covering everybody up, but I apologize ahead of time, David, if you can you're probably going to have to squeeze around the other side one way or the other. Let me see what we can do here. Nope, that's not going to be, you're going to squeeze way over there.
That was the thumbnail for the first cover I did. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, this is the conception of, this is the idea that we have. This is what we want. We're going to start from here, and we're going to end up with what's now on the campaign. I love seeing that, and being able to see the progression on there. And that is gorgeous to be able to see the pencils on there, because you see the evolution of it coming to life. How much editing or anything was involved in there, David, whenever you saw something like that come across and you were like, okay, I know what we're going for on this. How much do I want to change this, and how much direction do we want to go differently?
Oh, for the covers, Patrick has full reign on that. I don't, I don't step on his toes or anything like that. If I want a specific cover, we'll talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, he's got full reign on that.
Awesome.
Only because, I have so many ideas, and if I shoot one at him, I could be like, hey, what about this or that and this? And then Pat will be like, oh yeah, and I can add this and this and this and this and this. And I'm just like, my head is blown, and I'm like, you do it. Take care of it.
Luckily, we're on a similar wave, like when it comes to stuff we like as far as fantasy stuff goes. So that's been really good process.
Yeah, I actually grew up same way. I grew up watching all the Conan movies. Godzilla is one of my favorite monsters. I've got tons of 12-inch Godzillas over here. He's my favorite monster. So yeah, I'm the same way. Frazetta is one of my all-time favorite painters, artists. So all that style coming into this was pretty much like a dream come true, especially with Pat's artwork. And I've told him tons of times I can't see anybody else doing it. As soon as I started getting artwork from him with the other books that I had done in the past, I knew I wanted him for this, even for maybe future stories and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I've done a lot of comics that were traditional pencil drawings, that other people inked and colored. And this was my first chance to really control everything myself. So I've been doing paintings for the last 15 years or so, but this is the first time I've ever tried to actually tell a story just strictly as a painter. And so that gives you so much room to just have fun. You don't have to worry about your inker complaining because there's too many lines. It's going to take him all day to ink this thing that he could ink, somebody else 2 pages a day. And so it's nice for me to just be able to just do whatever I want and just fulfill whatever passion I have in me to get some sort of image out there that I'm proud of. So yeah, it's been a really fun process. And yeah, like David said, I was a big fan of Frazetta and Boris and Glenn Fabry and Simon Bisley and all those massive. And so if I can just lightly follow in their footsteps gently and maybe get there someday, that's just what this is, the first step toward that. So
well, you're talking about gently getting there. I'm going to share my screen right now, because this is one piece right here that as soon as I saw this, whenever you sent reference stuff over and everything, I was like, that right there. You mentioned your references, your people that you have influences from and everything. This is absolutely gorgeous. Let me go ahead and increase the size on this just a little bit. But this is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
It's got so much depth to it. It doesn't have you could look at some of them and it gives you that two-dimensional, it's just on paper or whatever. This one actually kind of reaches out. You can almost feel the heat from the star or whatever that is, or the sun behind her. It really has a lot of that in there. So very much, get some serious kudos coming from me on that one about how this looks. And if you're saying that you haven't gotten to that point yet, I'm kind of seeing where you're right there. You're right on that edge with this.
Thank you so much. That's such high praise. Yeah. I feel like I've got a long ways to go before I could fill any of the shoes I just mentioned, but yeah, it's a passion thing. I think most artists feel like they're never quite satisfied, and that's how you get better. Every year you want to look back and think, gosh, what was I thinking last year? Hopefully you've improved enough to where you can see all your own flaws, and that's kind of where I'm at with all of my work.
That's how I feel about my writing.
Right. Sure. It goes for all the creative people that involve comics,
that's the way that you hear from everybody, and it's just every profession, though. It's not just in comics. Even with doctors, they're their worst critics. There's no one out there that absolutely sits back and goes, "Huh, I'm pretty damn good at this."
Usually, the people saying that stuff aren't that good. That's the thing. They want to. They're great when build themselves up a little bit. But yeah, I appreciate the people who are a little more self-deprecating and humble. So.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the best part about it, is whenever you have that in there, then you're constantly striving to improve yourself, but not by disproving anybody else. You're actually trying to, you're not stepping over anybody to get up that ladder. You're making that climb yourself. And that's awesome to be able to see that. And I always talk about in every one of my shows about the reason I love the indies so much and that I follow them so hard and I push them so hard as I do is because everything that's put in there is all about the passion that goes into the work.
Yes.
And I can definitely see from your artwork, from your writing, this definitely has that passion in there that people want to see. This screams the indies. It has a lot of references and a lot of influences from the 80s, 90s. So, old guys like myself, I look at this and it's, something from my childhood. Someone who's younger may look at this and be like, that's really cool. I wish somebody would actually, come up with a comic that looks like this. And it's kind of like, I could take you back in the DeLorean. If we go 88 miles an hour, we could fix this thing for you. But if not, keep an eye on this guy. He's got that style that's on there with this.
Thank you.
So
yeah, I grew up. My big formative years were the Image years, the big boom.
Yes.
Because all those guys I just looked at as like the gods of the comic industry at that point.
Yes.
And so I was lucky enough to work with a few of those guys on some projects, and just hopefully some of their passion and ability trickles down a little bit into us next generation of dudes. So yeah, so if you can see a little bit of that Image energy in what I do, that's just because I've been fortunate to work with Mark Silvestri and Jim Valentino and Rob a little bit. And yeah, it's been an amazing adventure.
Yeah, Mark and Todd are pretty much the main ones that come immediately to my mind that just still to this day scream that much passion they put into everything that they touch. It doesn't go out until it has that much passion into it. And I can kind of see where, from what I'm seeing so far on the artwork of yours, it has that. On the writing that I've seen so far on David's, it definitely has that as well. So this is something that really pays homage to the olden days that are on there and actually shows the evolution of what comics is coming to and what it is going to as well. So y'all have a lot working for you in just this first, project that you got out there, and you're building, this universe and all. How much of the universe are we planning on building with this? Are we looking at, another project coming out next year? Are we looking at, a couple of years? What are we looking at?
I got about six issues for Crown of Fire. Oh, well, here. I don't want to, but no. So we got Crown of Fire. After Crown of Fire, we got a story called The Vorak, and this is all tied together. After that, we got The Giant's Tomb. After that, we got The Book of Elora. We've got Blood Moon. I'm considering, and all this has already been outlined and everything. I've got, maybe we're going to jump into The Sword of Fire. The Tribulations of Abaddon is the last story, but I'm considering changing the title maybe to The Descent of Abaddon, something like that. And there's a brand new one that I just did a couple of days ago. I think Pat just read the script. Was it this? Yeah. It's called The Myth of Zamzu, and it's pretty much the introduction to one of the other strong females from the story, and she's a big I just figured I needed to introduce her since she's a big part of the story, and she's going to come out at the end of this book, at the end, and pretty much through all the other books. And I just figured I needed to introduce her and tell the first part of her story instead of just, oh, look, here she is, and this is her, and everybody start falling in love, and so I just figured I'd give her a story so everybody, and it's only gonna, I think I'm probably gonna do like maybe 3 issues on that one. So
okay,
yeah.
So how do you come up with the reference material that you come up with on all this kind of stuff? Are you just a huge myth nerd and you've automatically got all this stuff already in your personal collection and everything, or do you go out and you try to research this kind of stuff? How do you go about doing that?
All the research I've ever done was done for TOA, which is again, The Tribulations of Abaddon. And everything else is just based on that. And yeah, I did tons of research. I was actually going to college and I took tons of theology classes. So I got a lot of knowledge from there. I'm a big ancient aliens fan. So I'm constantly watching that. And my brain is always like, my brain doesn't stop, it's constantly working. So if I see something that I think could fit into the story, I'll make it fit. I'll figure it out one way or another. And if I can't, maybe I can squeeze them in over here on this story. But that's usually how it is. But yeah, all the research has already been done. So all I'm doing right now is just pretty much elaborating on everything before the main story. So,
well, that's the way to do it. I mean, you want to make
Yeah.
sure that it definitely goes out there and you have the foundation laid before you go ahead and
Yeah.
start throwing out main story and then go backwards going, oh, if you like this one, check out how they became, this way, or how they got into this world or whatever. Sometimes it's been oversaturated. It's been done so many times that you have to go back to the basics now and just say, this is how it started. This is where it's leading. This is where it's going. And then throw those little plot twists in there. So I like the way that you get the mindset of not doing it the cookie cutter style. That is definitely a plus on that.
Yeah, I everything I write, I always send it to Pat and I have him read it, and I always want his 2 cents because the way I see it is like, I want my artist to enjoy drawing what I write. I don't want him to just draw it because, oh, you know what, I'm gonna get paid for this or another paycheck, or I want him to enjoy it. So I always tell him, like, did you really like it? Dude, I'm there like bugging him like 3-4 times a day, asking him till he finally responds, and okay. And he always gives me the feedback that I want. And and I just go in there, fix the little details he tells me, and we move forward.
Yeah, the only feedback I normally have to give him is like, hey, let's add some more like romance and like more monsters but it's just already plenty of that stuff in there. So I'm just usually just like, give me more. So we're already right on the same wavelength. So yeah, it's always a pretty positive experience.
Yeah, and I think for the second issue, because I already have the first is going to be out. I have the second, third, and fourth issues already written out, and I know we've been trying to. On the second one, I know we're going to go a little bit more heavy metal style, with a little bit more inferno into it.
Right.
But I haven't had the opportunity to add this love scene that Pat wants me to add in there. I'm trying so hard to add it in there, but I story-wise, I can't squeeze it in. So
it'll have what it needs to, I think. So
yeah, it has what it needs. But just like they told me over there in Niobe when I was talking with them, I was like, I mean, it'll happen when it happens. But I mean, I want it to happen already because I know Pat is dying to draw that. But I'm just like, I'm trying.
I'm just a big fan of like I mentioned, Game of Thrones and a lot of those stories that have a little bit of, it's just a whole mature world sort of vibe that I like. And and I know we're getting there. I'm just always sort of like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just get there and like,
right.
This isn't your normal Marvel or DC comic. This is like more along the lines of heavy metal and anything goes kind of situation. Like if it can happen in real life, it can happen in this fantasy world too, as far as romance goes. So yeah, so we're getting there.
And we mentioned at the very beginning, you were talking about you like the larger size, the UK style and everything on here. So I wanted to show, because we actually have the book here that actually shows the size on there. So you can kind of see the difference. It's a little bit larger, than a regular comic book on there. So you're getting a little bit more for your money on this one too. But look at those gorgeous covers alone. And that's just the outside. And again, to bust the myth, like I like to do on every show as well, you open these things up, they have more pictures and more words and stuff like that. Everybody thinks it's just the one picture on the front, but trust me, you open these things up, there's more in there. So definitely look inside.
Yeah. That's the one fun thing about painting it, the whole comic, is that the insides look just like the covers. Usually you get a cover and it looks really cool, then you open it and you're like, oh, it's not quite the same. Right. So this one, it's pretty much the same standard from start to finish. So that was fun. So,
and these books are absolutely gorgeous. And then on top of that, you add the T-shirt option on there. And a lot of people were like, okay, hang on a sec, because most everybody, offers T-shirt, and it's okay. It's the same thing. It's cookie cutter. This is the actual, the cover, that's on there and everything. So you get to wear that around as well. And it looks like it's absolutely gorgeous. This actually doesn't look like the normal T-shirts that we have nowadays and everything. It almost looks like the throwback to the 80s. The style that's on there, like the old iron-on style. It looks like it has that, which is awesome. Because again, me being the old guy in the room, I have to look at this going, wait a minute, this now I'm back to being, 10, 12 years old. Yeah, I would wear that.
I think I'm the old guy too in the room. So I'm right there with you. I love all that old iron-on stuff. When I was a kid, I would wear those shirts that had Hulk on it or King Kong until it was falling off my body, and my mom had to hide it, throw it away,
Yes.
out of it. So yeah, I'm really excited about the t-shirts, but I don't know if they're selling well, or if that's something that's really a big draw on crowdfunding campaigns. But I'm just excited to eventually wear one to the gym. That's all I want to do.
Well, it is definitely an option on there. So everybody that's on here, whenever we do give that, that call to action here toward the end of the show, and we're going to let you all know because we have the link embedded in the feed. We're going to show it on here as well. So you don't have to memorize it as it goes across the screen, even though we would like to do tests every once in a while on the show, but we're not tonight. It's actually in the, embedded in the feed. So it's very easy to click on that link and go to, but wait until the end to do that. But this gives you another option to look at whenever you're going through there. I know a lot of people go through and they just automatically go to digital, or they go to the book. They go to those two tiers, and that's as far as they really go whenever they're looking on there, because they want to see what's the value in just those right there. I'm telling everybody, just go ahead and kind of challenge yourself to go through the entire thing, see what's available, and see what else kind of piques your interest on there, because there are other options available that are in this that I think are pretty cool. That you, again, didn't go with the cookie cutter style. You went with something that's a little more. It definitely has I cannot stress enough. It has that feel of the 80s, the heavy metal, the different things like that. So if you're into comics, for one thing, of course, there you go. But if you're into old school 80s, 90s rock, I mean, look at that shirt. That has to have like a rock band across it somewhere, is where you'd be looking for that.
Yeah, what's funny is that I visited a friend, my friend Steve Furco. I met him at Top Cow, and he was working at Monolith Games in Seattle. And I went over there and visited him, and I got to go tour the studio he was working in. And it's the state of the art, like video game, production. And their art on their walls was insanely amazing. I was like, okay, I'm not really worthy to be here, but I showed my portfolio to their art director there just to see. And his comment to me was that my artwork looked old-fashioned. And that kind of bothered me. But then later on, I decided to just own it. And all my influences are the old Frazetta and Boris, that kind of thing. And so if I can feel like I'm in that same sort of vein, I'll just own it and just go with it. So that's what I'm doing.
Well, I'm going to bring up this right here, right now, because we're going to start showing a couple of pages of the interiors. We're not going to give away too much because I don't give spoilers on this show. So if y'all want to know more about this, you got to go over there and get the book. Just throwing that out there right now. But we're going to give a few more spoilers on here as far as the interiors, just a couple of pages, because I couldn't just leave just that one clip, where you need the magnifying glass. It's not, this is too gorgeous of a book to be shown with a magnifying glass. You actually have to look at this thing the correct way. And you're talking about the marriage that's between y'all of you understand what each other wants in the story, with the art and working together so well on here. This right here as just a random page, basically, to come up on here, automatically screams Sinbad. It automatically has that Game of Thrones feel. And we're not even looking at the mature stuff on here whatsoever on this page. And it has all that on there. Look at look at the top panel with the pirate ship up there with the water and all. Again, that's like Pirates of the Caribbean. So, I mean, this fits all kinds of genres that are there. How do you come up with, with a story that you've got in front of you, and all of a sudden you get in your mind, this is what it's going to look like on here. And then, of course, David, you're going to go, okay, I can see this looking, like it's going to go with on here as well. How are you going to draw that? I mean, do y'all just, sit on the phone and talk about this? Do y'all get on the computer and hash things out, digitally, or how do y'all do that?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, usually I'll send David like kind of a rough sometimes. Not every time, but we have such a good relationship that he just trusts me to do what I think looks best. But every once in a while, we'll just sort of, he'll have an idea and I'll be like, okay, so we'll just sort of push the envelope a little bit and see where we can take it. I usually want the monsters to be bigger and crazier and more of the fight scenes and all that stuff. But David's right there on the same page with me. So yeah, the way I produce this comic is the way I do the normal, standard penciling comics for DC or Marvel or whatever. And I just do thumbnails and just sort of plan out the imagery. And then I think of each specific panel as its own little painting, basically. And then the trick is just to make sure all the paintings on the page sort of make a colorful, like a pleasing color palette that all works harmoniously. And that's sort of the challenge of the colorist for comics, is to make not just each panel look good, but to make them all work together. And so that's why I decided to make all the gutters have like painted, instead of just white gutters, I added the paintings kind of behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of bring them all together.
Yes.
But we, as far as me and David go, we are on a very similar wavelength with what we like, and so he just kind of gives me free rein to just go crazy, which is all I ever wanted to do. So
yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, I think, and I could be wrong, but for the most part, I'll try to put in as much detail as I can in a panel, but I keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like panel one, example on this one, panel one, ship Etsy. You know, that's pretty simple. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and if it matches for whatever happened on the previous page, Pat can take whatever he did and then just move it to this one over here. So he keeps the flow of the pages going. So, you know, and as he said, you know, we just mesh well together when it comes to doing this. So,
yeah,
you know, so far so good.
Yeah, Dave's really good about letting me let the visuals kind of tell the story, because I've worked with a lot of writers where there's just words covering the entire page.
Yes.
I'm like, we kind of like to show some art in this book too.
Yes.
The writing's important, and that's essential to comics. But David's really good at knowing when to just be brief.
Yeah, because the pictures tell a story as well.
Yes.
You know, that's the main that's because I'm a very visual person, and since I can't draw, I just put it on paper, and I, just like Pat said, I mean, he brings it to life, and since the panels are going to be telling the story, their dialogue doesn't have to be, you know, paragraphs long just to get to the point, and the way normal people would talk, not, you know, having to describe, oh, okay, we're on a ship and we're doing this because of this or that. You know, it's the panel tells you what's happening, so you know,
Exactly.
there's no need for that.
Now, as far as the dialogue is concerned, is this the harshest that the language gets in here with Triton's bones? I mean, I didn't know if that was the harshest that we get in there with that.
Yeah, so far there's not a lot of swearing in this, is there, David? I remember.
I'm going to start using that one more often.
No, actually, I don't. I mean, no, I don't think I have them swear. I mean, I guess I can have them say, but I don't. It's because I'm trying to keep what kind of a, you know, cuss word or something would they say back then, you know? So
Yep.
I didn't live back then, so I can't say, oh, they use the F word or anything like that, you know?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, we're good at making their expressions of anguish and stuff are culturally like appropriate.
Exactly. And I like that you did that, because it again keeps even though this is, of course, is a fantasy book, it keeps the realism to the story as you're going through. You no longer find yourself going, man, that didn't happen then. Then it throws your focus off, and then it's no longer a page turner. You're stuck on the page. You're trying to figure it out, break it down. It needs to be where that flow is very fluid on there. You want to just turn the pages, go through that thing, and be ready for the next volume as it comes out very quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you've got, I mean, you go to a page like this. Now, you said you like monsters, and you definitely created whatever. I mean, that's what is a shark, octopus, skull, something.
It's kind of a Kraken Cthulhu type mix.
That is awesome. That is, I've never seen one quite like that. And that's terrifying, but awesome. I'm just going to throw that out there. So kudos to that one for that. And then you go from the absolute darkness of that to the absolute beauty right next to it. And everything just flows perfectly. And again, you keep with, you know, the background colors that are on there, which make everything flow very well together. This is what the interiors look like. So everybody who's interested in this book and liking what we're just talking about on here and everything, this is not just something that we're throwing up here going, this is what's possible to do. This is what you get in the book. So this is beyond gorgeous. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much for the praise. I really appreciate it. It's so hard when you work on these things on your own for, we've had this done for about 6 years. And so you just lose touch with what people's reaction will be when they see it. And so to get your feedback is like some of the first I've gotten on this book. So thank you so much. It makes me feel like it's so great
for me.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, I've been known to speak my mind at times. I don't say anything negative, of course, because I can't stand negativity. But I'm also of the mindset that if you don't have anything to say, don't say anything at all. I was raised that way. So if I'm very quiet during a show, there's a reason for that, which is not good.
Okay.
It's almost like I can't shut up with this one. So that should be praise enough right there.
Awesome. You're my new favorite guy. So yeah, come on this show more often.
But I mean, some of the artwork that's available in here, I'm gonna bring up another picture that's on here. We're just kind of going through just some of the spot ones that are on here, but this is some of the extra pages, the 25 pages that are on there of artwork.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. Yeah. Are you guys hearing that feedback? I'm getting some.
Yeah, there's a little clicking feedback or something.
Yeah, it's not me. So no, he's got that coming in. But...
Not real sure.
Okay. I hope it's not bothering you guys so much that you can't hear what I'm saying. But yeah, that's from a project called Kaiju Gods that a friend of mine was doing. And I did the cover for it, but the project never got funded, so they never used it. So there's all these things in the back of the book, these gallery images, are things that have never been in print and or commission work or something, or just fancy painting that is for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And teaching myself how to paint, basically. And so I'm just kind of excited to show people stuff that they've never seen before in print and just kind of get it out there into the world. So I'm glad you like that one. I'm a big fan of Godzilla and kaijus, and yeah, that was our big kaiju book we were working on. So,
and then again, this shows you, how beautiful everything is on here, and the two versions that are available. You got the standard, and then you've got the Inferno. I absolutely love the way that you actually named it Inferno instead of some of the other just regular cookie cutter style wording that's out there. So that's very cool to have the Inferno, because this book is definitely on fire.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. Yeah, I just wanted to turn up the heat a little bit on that version of the book. So turn the heat up to Inferno.
I mean, even just some of this artwork as we're going through on this, you can see how gorgeous this is and compare it to what we just showed for the interiors, and it's not lacking interior-wise at all. What you're getting on this thing, you're getting very much your value out of this thing. And I mean, some of this artwork is just, I don't even know where to go with it. It's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's gorgeous.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
And that's the standard cover, correct?
Yes, that's the standard edition cover, and yeah, that's the whole group, the whole gang is there. So yeah, I enjoy doing that kind of imagery. It's sort of like a movie one sheet sort of thing.
Exactly, it does, and that's exactly what I was going to say. It looks like a movie poster. If you were doing a preview movie poster, that's exactly what this looks like.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's sort of like the movie poster for the movie of Crown of Fire, if we were to ever do it.
Exactly, and I mean, it's almost to the point where you see this thing on Kickstarter and you have to kind of do a double take, going, am I getting a book or am I actually putting in for is this becoming a movie? What are we doing here?
Maybe eventually.
You never know. I mean, strange things are happening nowadays, so there's all kinds of things happening.
Oh yeah, never know.
And I will show, this is the Inferno cover as well, and we do have the black bar on there, so I'm able to show this and not have to put this where it's age restricted on here, which is great.
Right.
But again, both covers are absolutely gorgeous. This one definitely gets my attention, not just for the Inferno version of it, but just the coloring alone that's on here, and then adding in the serpents that are that are on there on the water, because not only are they on the water, but it looks like they're breathing fire. So you got that, and you got the steam up underneath them. The detail work alone has got my attention above and beyond, and I don't know that many people who throw something out there and put something, that's available on crowdfunding or whatever, and they don't look at it going, I may have missed this one little thing or that one little thing. You obviously went through and said, okay, I want details on this thing. I want this thing to actually pop and show what's going on. And again, it's a great value for what you're getting on this for the book, because you're not getting a standard comic size. It's like a double comic. It's a good sized book.
Yeah, that was my whole idea, was just to have something I could put on my bookshelf that I could just be proud to pull out and show people, like, yes, I was an artist once, and this is what I used to do. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Hopefully continue many more of these, hopefully. That's the plan.
Now, do you have, I don't remember seeing it on there, but do you have prints available of any of these, or?
Yes. We're going to actually offer prints with some of the reward tiers.
Okay.
Like 17-inch prints of a lot of the gallery images that will be in the back. and the covers as well. So yeah, so that's definitely part of the marketing plan there, is to offer some stuff like prints, T-shirts, the postcard size prints. Will be our stretch goal. Everybody will get one of those for free, and that will be at 8,000. We get there hopefully. So yeah, we kicked around ideas to do like buttons and stickers and bookmarks and that kind of thing. But for this first Kickstarter, we wanted to keep it kind of simple and just focus on the book itself mostly. So that's kind of what we're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just to read a quick excerpt that's on here, because it caught my attention whenever we had it. This is from the Kickstarter itself. It says, "Set sail with us on a quest into the unknown, across ancient seas, over the glittering horizon, and into a world of strange creatures, dark magic, and fantastic landscapes." That right there is the lettered version of all of the artwork that we've seen. You talk about a perfect marriage. That right there is exactly what the artwork is. The artwork is exactly what that is. There is no, the balance couldn't be more perfect on that. So the way that it was worded was absolutely perfect. The way that it was actually, the artwork on there and everything is absolutely stunning. This thing has got more of my attention than a lot of other projects that are out there. And I have to be rather picky because, again, super backer means poor. Poor means, not as many that I can get all the time. So I have to be picky about that. But I can tell everyone who's watching this, be picky and go ahead and pick this one. Because even though it's a newer title that's out here and everything, it's got so much foundation to it. These gentlemen have a huge background in the comic industry and are putting this into the first appearances, first edition of this universe that they're creating. So you don't want to miss out on this, because even though this may come available later on somehow, some way, first editions are always the best way to go. And you don't want to miss out on these things. And right now, as of the recording of this, we have 16 days to go at 99 backers. And my OCD is screaming at me right now, going, "We need 100. We need 100.
I was hoping we get to that 100 during this podcast. So yeah, that would be great.
I mean, it needs to happen. But I mean, I cannot stress enough. I mean, how absolutely beautiful this thing is. And again, just to let everybody know, there is no difference in price between Standard and Inferno. And a lot of people kind of think, what's the big deal on that? If you look at a lot of the crowdfunding that's out there, there's usually a pretty hefty increase for Inferno versus Standard, and whatever they're using on that. So it's very cool to see that y'all are actually offering that to make sure it gets out there at the regular price on there, which is not bad at all. I'm telling you, everybody that's watching this, this has got value to it. This is not one of those that you get and you go, I spent this much, but I only got this much out of it. It's more of, I'm looking at it going, I can't wait to have this in my hand so I can show it off and, hopefully do a review on it. I'd love to be able to do that.
Well, thank you for your kind words. Because, like you said, there's like 300 new campaigns on Kickstarter at any given moment, it seems like. And so to try to stand out within that crowd is really a challenge. Because there's a lot of dudes with big names out there that have been in comics for decades, and they're doing really well. And occasionally you'll see an unknown really kind of skyrocket to the top of the crowdfunding world. We're just hoping we'll be a steady grower from here on out. So I know that the first Kickstarter usually can be a little small, and then you can build on that with a second, and just build your audience and hopefully reward them by fulfilling everything they ask for and being honest if there's any delays and stuff. So that's our plan.
That's the best way to do it. Keep the communication open is the best way to have that done. Now, are y'all going to be fulfilling this yourselves, or do you have someone else that's going to be doing that for you?
Just us.
Okay.
Yeah, so I might fly down. David's in Laredo, Texas, and I'm up in Spokane, Washington. So I might fly down there once we get the big delivery of books, so I can help them package them and put them all in the mail to the separate backers.
Well, y'all have got a great project that's going on this thing. I cannot wait to see this thing fulfilled and get it out there to people and see the people's reactions to what's going on with this. And if you are out here and you're planning on going ahead and grabbing a hold of this thing after watching this and everything, definitely let them know what you think about it. Send them messages and let them know. One thing that I'll kind of let everybody know is that artists and creatives really enjoy getting feedback. Sometimes it takes, just something quick that you can send over and say, that's a gorgeous book. Or just come over and say, I love the artwork. Or I can't believe that, that you were actually able to convey that message, in a short paragraph. Some things like that are really cool for them to hear. And it gives them that extra fuel to keep pushing harder and harder to get the even better stuff to be coming out in the future, which I'm definitely looking forward to.
Oh,
So
yeah.
make sure you get out there and let them know what's going on and share. I always stress every single time, use the power of the finger, the correct one if you can, and hit that share button and go ahead and get this thing shared out. Not everybody is able to financially, back everything that's out there. Everybody understands that there's no problem there, but it costs absolutely nothing to use the finger and go ahead and hit that share button. And the even better part is if you're able to go ahead and back this thing, hit that share button. It actually triggers the algorithm a second time on there and puts it at the top of the viewing list. So it's a big, big thing for creatives that are in crowdfunding to have more shares on there, especially for those that are already backing them, because it keeps putting it to the top of the list. And that's where you want to be, especially like he just mentioned with, at any given time, 300 comic projects that are out there, things get buried after a while. And you want to make sure that you're still, being viewed quite often. So I'm about to go ahead and give full screen to each of you on this one and kind of get to a closing statement and a closing part on this one. But we're going to go ahead and start with David on this one and go ahead and let everybody know why they need to go ahead and stop what they're doing and find that link, which is embedded in the feed right now. Click on it, go over to Crown of Fire and get on that bandwagon. David, you got full screen on this one.
Just slide us out. We really want to keep going.
David, we're having a problem with your microphone. I think that's where the clicking was coming from.
I think so too.
Because as soon as you started talking, it was like every other syllable was just not coming out.
1 second.
Okay. While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and give Patrick full screen. Patrick, go ahead and let them know why they need to go ahead and go over there.
Well, this is sort of the culmination of a lifelong dream to sort of chart our own destiny through comics. I've been working in comics for like 28 years now, and this is the first time I've ever really gotten a chance to do a creator-owned book. And everything I've learned along the way in those 30 years is sort of put into this project. And we appreciate everybody that can go to the Kickstarter and just check it out. And if you can back us, that'd be great, just to help us be able to sort of continue this journey into like controlling our own destiny. And we really appreciate all the support. And like Phil was saying, if you can give us some feedback, we'd appreciate it. We listen to everybody, and we're learning as we go here. So if you can back, support, share, we'd really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll be back with another issue after this one's funded. So thank you very much for all of your support. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, David, we're going to go ahead and bring you back up on here. It sounds like the clicking's gone, so I think we got that cleared up now. So go ahead and give you full screen and you can let everybody know why they need to go over there and go ahead and pay attention to this one as well and jump on the bandwagon.
Right. We've been working on it for a good amount of time. We put in blood, sweat, and tears. Like Pat said, support, back, share, anything you guys can do to help us out. We appreciate everything, and anything helps. So yeah, if you can send anybody Kickstarter, look up Crown of Fire and ask any questions you guys have. We respond. If I don't respond, Pat responds, and we try to stay on top of that. So yeah, we love everybody. We just want to keep telling the story. So yeah, if you guys can help us get this printed, that would really help us out.
Awesome. Okay, again, everybody needs to pay attention to this one, see what's going on there. As of the recording of this, my OCD has been confirmed on there. We are now at 100 backers.
Yeah!
So we did hit that one.
Awesome.
Spoiler alert, I am the 100th backer. So
thank you so much for doing that.
I'm not missing out on this one. So that was a half.
That suits my OCD as well. So thank you.
There you go. There you go. So again, thank y'all very much for being here. If y'all want to go ahead and hang out in the green room for just a moment, I'm going to do my closing statements and then we can chat afterwards. But thank y'all very much for being here. I appreciate y'all taking the time to be out here. And if I don't have a chance to tell y'all before it is time, Merry Christmas, because as of the time this drops, it should be Christmas should be right around the corner because it's like right around the corner right now. So I thank y'all very much for being here, and looking forward to seeing more of y'all's work in the very near future.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Been a pleasure, Demon Phil. Thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah, pleasure.
All right. All right, cool. So we had Patrick Blaine, we had David Sandoval on here talking about Crown of Fire and talking about their project they got on there. Now, I will say this because I say it on every show, but I really want to start stressing this after every show that I have. Make sure you get on there and support these in any way that you possibly can. Indie creators do not have the capability of having the power that the big two have. I mean, they have, high rises dedicated to marketing and promotion and all that. They do this themselves in indies. So sometimes the stress of just having to do that by yourself is a little bit much on there, on top of making the great stuff that they're doing out here, like this project right here. So help them out by going ahead and sharing it out. Go ahead and let other people know what's going on out there. The more eyes you get involved in something like this, the more people would get interested, the more people would push to make sure that this becomes not only a reality, but becomes a reality and on a regular basis. This is something that's in the beginning phases of becoming something great out there. You don't want to miss out on this. So keep that in mind whenever you go through and you start looking for new projects to figure out what's going on. Sometimes they're right in front of you. Sometimes they're as easy as just go ahead and using your finger to hit that share button. And other times you need to get on the bus while it's sitting right there, or else it's going to leave you behind. So there's always choices to be made. Just make sure you make the right one, but always make the choice to share. So before we leave, I always got to say it because I say it on every one of my shows and I enjoy it every time I do. Keep it indie, y'all.